At my daughter's wedding, her groom, showing off his elite status, kicked me out into the yard at the reception. "You're not worthy of sitting with us, you simpleton." The guests laughed. My daughter remained silent, and I just smiled, hiding my secret. Suddenly, someone in the crowd pointed at me and shouted, "He's a billionaire!" The groom dropped his glass. "This is not revenge. This is justice." Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I sat alone at the table watching the door. 25 minutes now. The hostess approached with an apologetic smile, menu tucked under her arm. "Would you like to order while you wait?" Sir, I shook my head, gripping my phone tighter. "He'll be here." She nodded and retreated. Around me, the restaurant hummed with quiet confidence. Business suits leaned across white tablecloths. Polished shoes crossed beneath chairs. Laughter rolled out in practiced waves. I'd built something from nothing over 45 years, but none of that showed today. My Target dress shirt felt crisp enough. My slacks pressed. My hands scrubbed clean of the oil that usually lived under my fingernails. Still, I knew what I looked like sitting here. The Chevrolet Silverado in the parking lot, 18 years old but running strong, told its own story. The door swung open. Alexander walked in first, Emily half a step behind. No apology in his stride, no hurry in his movements. He wore his suit like armor, expensive fabric draped perfectly across his shoulders. His watch caught the light when he raised his hand to signal the hostess. She rushed over. He spoke without looking at her. "Reservation for Beaumont." Emily spotted me and waved, her smile too bright, too nervous. They crossed the room. Alexander extended his hand without meeting my eyes, his grip brief and dismissive. "Bradley, traffic was murder. No apology there either." I stood, shook his hand, felt the calluses on mine catch against his smooth palm. He pulled back quickly. "Alexander, good to finally meet you." Emily leaned in for a hug. Her perfume smelled expensive, unfamiliar. "Hi, Dad. Thanks for coming all the way downtown. Wouldn't miss it." We settled into our chairs. Alexander placed his Mercedes keys on the table beside his phone. Casual as breathing, the waiter appeared instantly. "Gentlemen, ladies, can I start you with something to drink?" Alexander ordered a scotch. Neat. Named the brand like it mattered. Emily asked for wine. I requested water. Alexander glanced at me, something flickering across his face. Amusement. Maybe. Pity. "Come on, Bradley. Have a drink. Celebrate our treat." "Water's fine." The waiter left. Emily launched into wedding talk, filling the silence with venue options and color schemes. Alexander listened with half his attention, his eyes wandering to other tables, checking who else occupied this space. When she paused for breath, he turned to me. "So, what do you do?" "Bradley." The question landed soft but deliberate. Emily's spine straightened. "I work in automotive repair. Been doing it 45 years. His posture shifted. The smile changed. Gained edges. "Oh, a mechanic. That's honest work." The pause before honest carried more weight than the rest of the sentence combined. Emily jumped in too fast. "Dad's really good at what he does. I'm sure he is." "Honey." Alexander draped his arm across the back of her chair. "Everyone has their place in the economy. Someone's got to keep our cars running." "Right," he laughed. Emily laughed with him. Not meeting my eyes, I stayed quiet, watching them together. Her hand found his on the table. She squeezed. The waiter returned. Alexander ordered first, something elaborate off the upper section of the menu. Emily chose the salmon. When my turn came, I scanned the prices and selected the pasta, second cheapest item available. "Don't be shy. Bradley." Alexander gestured broadly. Get whatever you want. Don't worry about the price. His generosity felt like a test. I smiled. Pasta sounds perfect. Throughout the meal, Alexander dominated the conversation. He talked about his financial consulting firm, the clients they'd landed, the markets they were watching. His vocabulary shifted when addressing me versus Emily. Simpler words, slower explanations. People who work with their hands versus people who work with their minds. It's just different skill sets. Both important, just different. Emily nodded along, her embarrassment radiating across the table. She couldn't look at me directly anymore. Alexander pulled out his phone twice during dinner, scrolling through messages, showing Emily photos of the venue. He angled the screen away from me. A subtle exclusion. When she asked a question about the ceremony space, he answered in detail, describing features I couldn't see. "We'll keep the budget reasonable," he said, still scrolling. "Don't want anyone feeling stretched." His eyes flicked to me when he said it. The meaning crystallized in the air between us. Emily touched his arm. "We're being smart about it. Dad, you don't need to worry. I'm not worried." Alexander set his phone down. "Speaking of which, we should probably handle most of the planning ourselves. Keep things simple. Your dad probably doesn't have experience with these higher-end venues and vendors. No offense, Bradley. Just being practical. None taken." But Emily took offense for him, her cheeks flushing. "Alex is right. Dad, we've got it under control. You don't need to worry about anything. Just show up and enjoy." Okay. I cut into my pasta, chewed slowly, swallowed, watched my daughter choose her side in real time. The decision I'd been weighing all evening solidified. I needed to see how far this would go, how deep the disrespect ran, how blind Emily had become. "I'll be there," I said, looking directly at her. "Wherever you need me. Always have been." The check arrived. Alexander grabbed it before the waiter finished setting it down. "I've got this one. You've probably got enough on your plate." The emphasis on enough hung there, deliberate. Emily smiled at him, grateful, affectionate. Didn't acknowledge my presence at all. We walked to the parking lot together. The evening had cooled, downtown Boston settling into its nighttime rhythm. Alexander clicked his key fob and his Mercedes chirped twice. Then he saw my truck. His eyebrows rose. "That's your ride, well, at least it runs." "Right." He laughed like he'd made a joke. Emily laughed. "Too. Smaller. Uncertain." I unlocked my door. "Runs great. Built to last." I climbed in. Started the engine. We stood together beside his Mercedes, his arm around her waist, watching me back out. In my rearview mirror, I saw him lean down, whisper something in her ear. She nodded. I sat in the parking space, hands on the steering wheel, engine idling. Alexander's Mercedes pulled away. Emily in the passenger seat. She didn't look back. My phone buzzed against the console. Her name lit up the screen. I stared at it, already knowing this wouldn't be pleasant. The phone buzzed again, insistent. I let it ring twice more before reaching for it. Already knew what this was. I pulled out of the parking lot instead of answering. Drove through downtown Boston's familiar grid. Streets I'd navigated for decades. Past buildings I'd watched go up and come down. The city changed around me while I stayed constant. Steady. I passed one of my shops on Beacon Street. Lights still on in the bay windows. Carlos probably finishing up a late job. Then another on Commonwealth Avenue. Closed for the night. Security lights casting shadows across the lot. I noted them without attachment. The way you notice old photographs on a wall you pass every day. Brookline welcomed me with quiet streets and modest houses. Mine sat halfway down the block, small in need, the 20-year mortgage paid off 10 years ago. I pulled into the driveway, cut the engine. The house Sophia and I had bought together, raised Emily in, made a life around. She decorated the living room with care, chosen every piece of furniture deliberately. 14 years since cancer took her. The room still looked exactly as she'd left it. I sat on the couch she'd picked out. Afternoon sunlight streaming through windows she'd insisted face east. The phone buzzed again. Different pattern this time. Voicemail. I waited another 5 minutes, letting the silence settle around me before calling Emily back. She answered on the first ring. Dad. Her voice carried tension like a wire pulled too tight. No greeting, no warmth. Hey, sweetheart. Sorry, just got home. What's going on? We need to talk about tonight. No preamble, no acknowledgement of what had happened at dinner. Straight into attack mode. Okay, I'm listening. You can't act like that around Alexander's business associates. I shifted the phone to my other ear. Act like what I barely said 10 words. Exactly. You were so quiet. It was awkward. Dad. Alexander noticed. His friends will notice. These people are important for our future. The hour didn't include me. I understood that clearly. I was being polite, letting you two talk about your wedding. It's not just about being polite. Frustration bled through her words now. Alexander comes from a good family. His parents have connections. This wedding matters. I need you to understand that. I understand. Do you? Because tonight, you seemed... She paused, searching for the word uncomfortable. Out of place. And that makes me uncomfortable. The accusation stung more than anything Alexander had said. I stood, walked to the window, looked out at my workshop in the backyard, tools organized on pegboards, projects in various stages of completion. My real office, the one that mattered. What do you want from me? Emily, I need you to blend in. Don't talk about work. Don't mention money or the lack of it. Just smile and nod and let Alexander and his family handle things. Silence stretched between us. Outside, the neighbor's dog barked twice. Do you know what it's like? Her voice cracked. Constantly making excuses for having a father who's just a mechanic. Just a mechanic. The words landed like broken glass on tile, sharp and scattered. I said nothing. Let them sit there. Let her hear what she'd said. Dad, I'm here. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. She exhaled hard. Alexander mentioned you seemed uncomfortable tonight. He thought maybe you'd prefer a smaller role in the wedding. Less pressure on me. A smaller role in my only daughter's wedding. Don't be dramatic. We're just trying to make this work for everyone. You don't understand what this life is like. Alexander's friends, his colleagues, they judge everything. Where you went to school, what your parents do, what car you drive. I'm finally in that world. And I can't have you messing it up. Messing it up. Is that what I did? Mess up her life by existing? I didn't ask the question aloud. Instead, I moved to the kitchen table, pulled out the notebook I kept for project notes, started writing while she talked, documenting every word. That's not what I meant. She continued backtracking but not apologizing. Alexander has standards. His family has expectations. Can't you just be less visible for me? I finished writing, set the pen down carefully, made my voice steady as a surgeon's hand. Here's what I'll do. I won't tell Alexander about my business, won't mention numbers or success. I'll let him think exactly what he thinks now. Relief flooded through the phone. Really? You do that on one condition. She hesitated. What condition? You give me time. Let me see how Alexander treats a father-in-law he thinks is beneath him. Watch how he acts when he believes I'm nobody. Really watch Emily. Then ask yourself who you're marrying. Silence long enough that I wondered if she'd hung up. Then fine. But you'll see. Alexander is great once you get to know him. Tonight was just nerves. Wedding stress. Maybe. Thank you, Dad. This means so much. You'll fit in great. I promise. She didn't understand what she'd agreed to. Didn't realize she'd just consented to her own father's test. That was fine. Better even. I should go, she said. Alexander is calling on the other line. Sure. Good night, sweetheart. Night. Dad. The line went dead. I sat at the kitchen table, notebook open in front of me. Added one more line beneath the dinner conversation notes. Wedding planning meeting. Wait for invitation. I poured myself a single glass of whiskey. Rare for me. Stood at the window again. The workshop glowed faintly in the darkness. Familiar and solid. I pulled out my phone. Scrolled to Jonathan Reyes's contact. My attorney hovered over his name without pressing call. Not yet. Just noting the option. Keeping it ready. On the mantle. A photograph stared back at me. Emily. At 12 years old. Both of us covered in motor oil, laughing at something long forgotten. She'd helped me rebuild an engine that summer. Insisted on learning every part, every function. Her hands had been small then. Careful, eager. That girl knew what I did mattered. Knew who her father was. This woman on the phone tonight didn't know me at all anymore. I made my decision standing there in Sophia's living room. Whiskey warming my throat. I'd attend this wedding. Play the role of poor mechanic father perfectly. Let Alexander reveal himself fully. Let Emily see exactly what she was choosing. Give her every chance to wake up before it was too late. And if she didn't wake up, well, I'd built 15 businesses from nothing. I could build a lesson too. My phone buzzed on the table. Text message. Unknown number. Bradley. This is Victoria Beaumont, Alexander's mother. We'd like you to join us for wedding planning next month, May 20th. Our home, 6 p.m., sharp. Even the mother started with subtle jabs. The word choice, deliberate, instructional. Be on time. Don't embarrass us. I read it twice. Let the implications settle. Then typed back, I'll be there. Sent it, set the phone down. Picked up my pen and added to the notebook. Beaumont family meeting, May 20th. Observe dynamics. Document everything. The game had started whether I wanted it or not. Might as well play it well. 4 weeks passed like slow water. May 20th arrived with clear skies and my GPS guiding me through Beacon Hill, where even the mailboxes looked expensive. Streets curved through neighborhoods where homes started at $3 million and climbed from there. Private security signs stood like sentinels on manicured lawns. Designer landscaping framed every driveway. The Beaumont residence spread across its lot like a declaration. 2-story colonial, white columns. Circular driveway wide enough for 3 cars. I parked my Silverado behind Alexander's Mercedes and a silver Lexus SUV that probably belonged to his parents. Cut the engine. Sat for a moment, studying the house that raised the man my daughter wanted to marry. I walked to the front door, rang the bell. Chimes echoed inside some classical melody I didn't recognize. Victoria Beaumont opened the door, looked past me to my truck, her eyebrows rising a fraction. You found us. Come in. No greeting. No handshake. Just acknowledgement of arrival and dismissal in the same breath. The interior screamed wealth louder than the exterior. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings that soared 14 feet high. Marble floors reflected light from windows dressed in silk curtains. Art covered the walls, the kind you see behind velvet ropes in museums. Everything positioned perfectly. Nothing out of place. Nothing comfortable. The living room opened to my right. Everyone already seated. Alexander and Harrison Beaumont in matching leather armchairs. Emily and Victoria on a cream sofa that looked too expensive to actually sit on. Wedding planner materials spread across the coffee table. Venue photos, catering menus, flower arrangements, and glossy folders. One seat remained. A stiff dining chair someone had brought from another room. placed slightly apart from the grouping, an afterthought. I took it without comment. Now that we're all here, Victoria began, her tone suggesting I'd kept them waiting despite arriving exactly at 6. We've narrowed the venue options. The estate house in Cambridge. It's where proper families celebrate. Harrison nodded, his silver hair perfectly styled, his suit probably worth more than my truck. Waited 4 months to get that date. They don't take just anyone. The conversation flowed around me. Flowers, music, ceremony, timing. I listened, noted details, stayed quiet, played my role exactly as promised. Then Victoria shifted topics. Budget. Alexander mentioned 75,000 total. Very reasonable for a wedding of this caliber. I saw my opening. I'd like to contribute, help with costs. The room went silent. Alexander exchanged glances with his parents. Something passed between them quick as electricity. Alexander smiled, condescending, and practiced. That's thoughtful. But we've got this covered. Wouldn't want you to stretch yourself. Victoria leaned forward, voice dripping false sweetness. How sweet that working people want to help, too. But this is rather expensive. Bradley, perhaps you could handle something smaller. The guest book. Maybe. Harrison set his drink down, ice clinking against crystal. So, this auto shop of yours, how many employees? Just you and maybe one other guy. It's bigger than that. Been building it for decades. Harrison laughed. Actual laughter like I'd told a joke. Building that's optimistic. Most small shops barely break even. Overhead, insurance, equipment costs. You're probably treading water. Alexander joined in tag teaming. Emily mentioned you do oil changes, brake work, basic stuff. Nothing wrong with that. Someone has to do it. Emily sat beside him, studying her phone screen, pretending the conversation wasn't happening. Her silence cut deeper than their words. I watched my daughter disappear into herself, choosing invisibility over defense. Victoria stood. I'll get coffee. She left the room. I leaned forward slightly, examined the wedding materials on the table. The estate house brochure showed gardens and ballrooms, price sheets tucked inside. 75,000 total. I filed the number away. Harrison stood too. Let me show you the study. I followed him down a hallway lined with family photographs. His study featured a wall of business awards, plaques, framed photos with local politicians and business leaders, a subtle flex showing me what success looked like in his world. 25 years building my consulting firm, he said, gesturing broadly. Started with nothing. Well, almost nothing. Had some family connections, made something of myself. Impressive. You understand the pressure. Providing for family, maintaining standards. Alexander learned from watching me. He knows what it takes. We returned to the living room. Victoria served coffee in fine china cups, delicate things with gold trim. Everyone got matching sets except me. She handed me a plain mug, the kind contractors use on job sites. She didn't apologize or explain. Just set it on the side table near my afterthought chair and moved on. The evening wound toward its conclusion. Alexander pulled out his laptop, opened a file. We're doing something interesting with the seating arrangement. He turned the screen toward his parents and Emily, angling it away from me. I saw the edge of a floor plan. Premium guests, business contacts, family, friends will have the main floor. Best view of the ceremony, closest to the reception area. He pointed to another section I couldn't quite see. And we'll have a separate area for everyone else. More casual. Victoria nodded approvingly. It's about maintaining standards. You understand, Alexander looked directly at me for the first time all evening. You'll be comfortable there. Less formal. Less pressure to, keep up appearances. I understood perfectly. They were segregating me. publicly marking me as lesser, creating physical distance to match the social distance they'd already established. I stood. I should go. Thank you for having me. Polite handshakes all around. Emily walked me to the door. Wouldn't meet my eyes. It'll be a beautiful wedding. I said, thanks for understanding. Dad, about the seating. It's just logistics. Sure. I walked to my truck, climbed in, started the engine, sat there with it running. The Beaumont house lit up behind me like a stage set. Pulled out my phone, scrolled to Jonathan Reyes's contact, my attorney. 17 years of business together. Every contract and property deal running through his office. I hovered my thumb over his name. The porch light flicked off behind me. The Beaumonts were done with me for the night. I tapped the screen. One ring. Jonathan, it's Bradley. I need to see you tomorrow. It's important. The next afternoon, I walked into Jonathan Reyes's law office in downtown Boston. 18th floor. Mid-size firm. The kind that handles serious business without needing marble floors to prove it. The receptionist recognized me, smiled, waved me straight through. Jonathan's office overlooked downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city I'd worked in for 45 years. He stood when I entered, concern crossing his face. In 17 years, I'd never requested an urgent meeting for anything personal. Bradley, sit. What's happening? I took the chair across from his desk, laid it out methodically. My daughter's engagement, the fiancé, his family, the escalating disrespect building towards something I couldn't ignore anymore. Jonathan listened, taking notes on a legal pad, his expression shifting from concern to understanding. You want to protect Emily? He said when I finished. From herself. From a mistake she can't see yet. He set his pen down. What are you thinking, transfer ownership of all 15 Covington auto service locations to Emily as a wedding gift? Jonathan raised an eyebrow. That's substantial with a condition. If the marriage dissolves within 5 years, everything reverts to me. He leaned back, fingers steepled. Processing. That's a conditional gift deed with a reverter clause, legal in Massachusetts, but complicated. We're talking about $10 million in total business value approximately. Heavy tax considerations. Timing becomes critical. He pulled out a fresh legal pad, started sketching structures with arrows and boxes. If Alexander discovers this before the wedding, he'll treat Emily very differently. Are you sure you want that reveal to happen after I'm sure? Jonathan drew more connections, thinking aloud. We prepare the documents now, but date them to take effect the day after the wedding. Protects Emily's ownership from any claims Alexander might make during the engagement. Also establishes clear proof this is your property gifted voluntarily, not a marital asset. How aggressive is the 5-year clause? Very. Most conditional gifts use 6 or 12 years. You're banking on Alexander showing his true nature quickly. I met his eyes. He already has. I'm just making sure there's a record when everyone else sees it. 2. Jonathan studied me for a long moment. Bradley, this is a sophisticated legal trap. If Alexander realizes what you've done, he could claim you manipulated Emily. Are you prepared for her to hate you? If this backfires, I'm prepared for her to understand eventually. Right now, she can't see what she's walking into, but money has a way of revealing character. He nodded slowly. 3 weeks for a complete draft. Then we'll need notarization. Witness signatures, the full process. Do it. We shook hands. I left his office feeling purposeful for the first time since that restaurant dinner. Later that week, I was at my flagship location in Cambridge, northeast Boston. 15 bays running steady with afternoon work. 28 employees moving through their routines. Diagnostic equipment humming. The organized chaos of a well-run operation. Patrick Donovan arrived to pick up his company vehicle. I'd held the service contract for Summit Properties Group's fleet for 6 years now. built on reliability and fair pricing. He found me in the office reviewing invoices. Bradley, vehicle ready, just finishing the paperwork. Walk with me. We moved through the facility, past bays, where technicians worked under hydraulic lifts, past the parts department where inventory lined metal shelves floor to ceiling. Patrick took it in. The scale of it. Your operation here is impressive. 15 locations now. I remember when you had 4. Growth takes time. Alexander knows what you've built. Right, Emily's fiancé. I handed him his keys. Alexander knows I work in auto repair. That's enough for him. Patrick pocketed the keys, hesitated. Funny you mentioned Alexander. Got a wedding invitation from him. Says he's marrying into your family. My daughter, July 15th at the estate house. Interesting. Patrick shifted his weight. Alexander invited half the business community, trying to impress someone. Called me twice about investment opportunities. Networking hard. I filed that information away. Thanked Patrick for his business. Watched him drive off. Then I made a call. Jonathan, can you run a discreet financial background check on Alexander Beaumont? Legal consideration for potential family business matters. I'll have something by Monday. Monday came. Jonathan called with results. Alexander had taken a $60,000 personal loan 3 months ago. The estate house appeared on the lending documents as collateral justification. He was drowning in debt to throw a wedding that served as social capital, using Emily as his entry ticket to the business circles he wanted to penetrate. The irony tasted sharp. Alexander mocked my finances while leveraging borrowed money for appearances. Everything I'd suspected confirmed in black and white. That evening, I drove past the estate house. Alexander's Mercedes sat in the parking lot, probably inside, finalizing details he couldn't afford. Spending money he didn't have to impress people who'd forget him the moment the open bar closed. 4 weeks later, I returned to Jonathan's office. The documents were ready. Thick stack of legal papers. Notary seal prepared. Jonathan spread them across the conference table. Pages fanned out like playing cards. Sign here, here, and here. He pointed to marked tabs. The moment Emily signs her marriage certificate, these become active. She'll own everything. I picked up the pen, my hand steady. Jonathan watched me. You're giving away $10 million on a bet that Alexander will prove you right. I signed the first page. Not a bet. A certainty. The weeks after signing the documents passed in careful preparation. 3 weeks before the wedding. My phone rang while I was reviewing inventory at my Cambridge location. Alexander's name flashed on the screen. I answered background noise immediately. Colleagues talking, printer running, his office environment leaking through. Bradley. We need to discuss logistics for the wedding. No greeting, no courtesy, just commands delivered like I worked for him. I'm listening. That truck of yours, the Silverado, you can't drive that to the estate house. It'll look terrible in the parking lot. I said nothing. Let the silence stretch. Let him fill it. And please dress appropriately. Rent a suit if you need to. Something that doesn't scream budget. Each word calculated to wound. Delivered with casual cruelty. I kept my voice level. I'll arrive in what I drive. I'll wear what I own. His tone sharpened. You don't understand. My business partners will be there. Investors. People who matter. I matter. Alexander. I'm her father. Long pause. Then he exploded. I don't want them thinking I'm married into poverty. Is that clear enough? Emily deserves better than being associated with someone who fixes cars for a living. Do you have any idea what this wedding costs me? $60,000. I'm not letting you ruin it because you're too stubborn to rent a decent car for one afternoon. In the background, Emily's voice. Alex, who are you talking to? Alexander didn't cover the phone. Your father. He's being difficult. I waited for her to defend me, to say something. Anything. Just silence. Then footsteps walking away. "I'll be there," I said. "As I am." I hung up, pulled out my secondary phone, stopped the recording app. Massachusetts is a one-party consent state. Every word documented. 8 days before the wedding. Emily called in the evening. I was home reading through the transfer documents one more time. "Dad." Her voice tight. Rehearsed. "I talked to Victoria and Harrison today about photography logistics, family photo arrangements." She rushed the next part. "They think they suggested maybe you could stand off to the side during formal photos just for the main shots. Stand off to the side to keep the aesthetic cohesive. The aesthetic. My daughter speaking their language now, parroting their values like she'd forgotten her own. It's not personal," she continued. "It's just, how wedding photos are. Everyone needs to coordinate." What she meant. "You don't match the image we're building." "Do you agree with him?" I asked. Longest pause of my life. "Then I just want everything to go smoothly." Not a denial. An evasion somehow worse. "You'll have your smooth wedding," I said. "I'll stand wherever they tell me to stand. Thank you for understanding." I hung up before saying something I'd regret. After the call, I sat in Sophia's living room. The documents spread across the coffee table she'd picked out 22 years ago. I opened the folder, reviewed the transfer papers again. Everything ready. 15 properties valued at $10 million. Full ownership transferring to Emily the day after her wedding. 5-year reversion clause if the marriage dissolved. I picked up my phone, texted Jonathan. "Proceed as planned. See you at the wedding." His reply came immediately. "Confirmed. Papers will be ready for post-ceremony signing." I looked at the photo on the mantle. Emily at 12. Both of us covered in motor oil, laughing at something long forgotten. The girl who'd been proud of her father, who'd understood that working with your hands meant building something real. That girl was gone. The woman marrying Alexander couldn't see past appearances to the substance beneath. Pain now, understanding later. That's what I was banking on. 4 days before the wedding, I had my suit dry cleaned. The same J.C. Penney suit from the restaurant meeting. Simple. Inexpensive. Exactly what they expected. I washed and detailed my Silverado myself. Spent 4 hours in my driveway with soap and wax and careful attention to every surface. My shop manager drove past, saw me working, pulled over. "Boss, why are you detailing your own vehicle? We've got guys for that. Some things you do yourself." He nodded, confused, but respectful. Drove on. I checked the wedding invitation one more time. July 15th, 5 p.m. Ceremony, the estate house. Dress code printed at the bottom in elegant script. Black tie preferred. My simple suit wouldn't meet that standard. I knew I was counting on it. 2 days before I drove past the estate house, set up crew installing lighting, arranging flowers, constructing the stage Alexander had designed for maximum impression. The scale was massive. 60,000 borrowed. Every penny visible in silk and crystal and imported roses. I picked up the finalized documents from Jonathan's office personally, carried them home, stored them in my safe alongside the business formation papers from 45 years ago. Full circle. Everything I'd built, about to transfer to my daughter with a single condition that would either save her or teach her. The night before the wedding, I ironed my own shirt, polished my own shoes. Ritual preparation. Soldier before battle. Wedding morning arrived clear and cold. I stood in my bathroom adjusting my tie in the mirror. The suit fit well enough. Clean, pressed, obviously inexpensive. Perfect. My phone buzzed. Text from Jonathan. "I'm already at the venue. Front row, aisle seat. Ready when you are." I picked up my truck keys. Time to see what Alexander had planned. The estate house sat on 25 acres of manicured grounds north of Boston, all white columns and sprawling gardens. I arrived just after 4, giving myself time before the 5 p.m. ceremony. The parking lot told the story Alexander wanted. Luxury sedans, a few Teslas, one Maserati gleaming in afternoon sun, and my 18-year-old Silverado. I pulled into the circular drive. Valets in formal attire watched my approach, confusion crossing their faces. The young one stepped forward, hesitating. "Sir, are you with the wedding party?" I handed over my keys. "Father of the bride." His expression shifted from confusion to pity. He took the keys without another word. I walked toward the entrance, past clusters of arriving guests. Designer clothes, tailored tuxedos that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage had been. Women in dresses worth thousands. Men checking watches that could finance a year of college. Everyone polished, positioned, perfect. Me in my $200 JC penny suit. The contrast deliberate, visible, exactly as planned. Alexander positioned himself near the entrance like a politician working a crowd, greeting guests, shaking hands, performing his role with practiced ease. He saw me approaching. His expression flickered, annoyance then calculation. Before settling into performance mode, he raised his voice so nearby guests would hear. "Bradley, you made it. Wasn't sure you'd find the place." Laughter rippled through the group around him. He stepped forward, hand extended. "Everyone, this is my father-in-law. He's in automotive work." The pause before automotive work hung there, loaded with meaning. A well-dressed woman asked politely, "Which dealership?" Alexander answered for me. "Oh, he's not in sales. He's more hands-on. Repairs, maintenance, that sort of thing." He gestured toward the entrance. "Family seating is inside. They'll show you where. Dismissal clear. Conversation over. Move along. Inside." The venue lived up to its reputation. Crystal chandeliers cascaded light across marble floors. Flowers filled every corner. Imported roses. Orchids arranged in cascading displays. Everything screaming expensive taste and unlimited budget. A coordinator with a clipboard approached. "Name, please." "Bradley Covington, father of the bride." She checked her list. Expression carefully neutral. "Yes. Right this way." She led me through the main ballroom, prime seating near the front. Rows of elegant chairs arranged perfectly, each with a personalized calligraphy place card. We kept walking past the middle rows, past the back rows, through a doorway into a side area, still visible to the ceremony space, but clearly separated. 3 tables set up labeled Family Bride's Side in generic printed cards nearly adjacent to the catering entrance. Staff walked past, carrying supplies, setting up service stations. "You'll be comfortable here," the coordinator said, overly bright. Close to refreshments translation hidden from view near the service area out of photographs. I surveyed the room through the doorway. The main floor filled with Alexander's guests, people radiating wealth and status. Then I spotted a familiar face. Patrick Donovan. 3 rows from front in the premium section. He scanned the room, stopped when he saw me in the side area. Our eyes met across the distance. His expression changed. Confusion, then dawning realization. He knew me as a successful business owner with 15 locations. He saw me seated with budget guests near the kitchen. He stood, started moving toward me, but the wedding coordinator's voice rang out. "Please take your seats. Ceremony beginning in 5 minutes." Patrick hesitated, sat back down, but he kept glancing toward me, the question visible on his face. "What's happening here?" I pulled out my phone, photographed my seating area, the view from my table, the generic place cards, while main floor guests had personalized calligraphy. Documentation, evidence, all of it recorded. Music started. The processional beginning. From my side position, I watched guests stand, turn toward the aisle. Emily appeared in the entrance, beautiful in a white dress that probably cost $10,000. She didn't look toward the side area, didn't look for me. She walked down the aisle alone. Alexander's suggestion. More modern, they'd said. More convenient. They meant no father-daughter walk. No acknowledgement of the man who'd raised her alone after Sophia died. Alexander stood at the altar, beaming, playing his role perfectly. I watched my daughter marry a man who demanded her father be hidden, and she'd agreed. A woman sat at my table, older, kind-faced. I'm the bride's aunt from her mother's side, she said quietly. Apparently, we're not photogenic enough for the main floor either. Apparently not. Service staff walked past repeatedly during the ceremony. The disruption Alexander claimed to prevent by seating me here was actually created by this arrangement. But it wasn't about logistics. Never was. I spotted Jonathan in the audience, fourth row center. He saw me, gave a subtle nod. The witness in position. The officiant declared them married. Applause filled the room. Alexander kissed Emily, both beaming. They walked back down the aisle together, accepting congratulations. As they passed the doorway to the side area, Alexander glanced toward where I sat. Our eyes met for half a second. He smirked. Then they were gone, swept into the crowd of well-wishers. The coordinator announced, "Cocktail hour on the terrace while we prepare the reception space." I stood. Jonathan appeared beside me. "Ready?" he asked quietly. "Not yet," I said. "Let's see what he does next." The cocktail hour passed in a blur of champagne and forced mingling. By the time the reception began, Alexander had worked through 3 glasses of bourbon. I watched from my corner table as he grew louder, bolder, his inhibitions dissolving with each drink. Dinner service complete. Toasts finished. The reception in full swing. Alexander at the head table visibly intoxicated, gesturing wildly while talking to friends, his voice carrying across the room with that particular volume drunk people achieve. Emily beside him, looking uncomfortable, but not intervening. I remained at my segregated table. Jonathan Reyes sat nearby, catching my eye with a questioning look. Patrick Donovan at his premium table, periodically glancing toward my section with visible confusion. The physical separation of spaces now glaringly obvious to anyone paying attention. Alexander stood abruptly, nearly knocking over his chair, grabbed his drink, gestured to his friends. "Come on, let me introduce you to my father-in-law." The group weaved through tables toward my section. Performance clearly planned. Guests noticed. Conversations paused, attention shifting. Alexander arrived with his entourage, speaking loud enough for half the room to hear. "Gentlemen, allow me to present Bradley Covington, finest mechanic in the Boston area." His friends laughed on cue. Well-rehearsed cruelty. "He's more comfortable with grease than champagne. Aren't you? Bradley, different worlds. You know," he gestured at his tuxedo, then at my simple suit. But hey, he showed up. That's what counts. One friend played along. "You know, Alex, I've been thinking. A man who works with his hands probably feels out of place at an event like this. All this refinement, all these successful people." Alexander nodded sagely. "Exactly. Nothing wrong with knowing your place. I respect that about working-class folks. They understand their limits." He made a show of loosening his bow tie. "Is it hot in here or is it just me? Another friend. All these people. All this perfume. Bit suffocating." Alexander snapped his fingers like he'd had an idea. "You know what, Bradley, there's a lovely courtyard outside. Might be more your speed. Fresh air. No crowd." He pointed toward the French doors leading outside through the glass. Snow falling. Heavy and thick. The outdoor thermometer displayed clearly. -6 degrees Fahrenheit. Guests following the conversation realized what he was suggesting. Some laughed nervously. Others looked uncomfortable. Alexander continued emboldened. "Seriously, wouldn't you be more comfortable out there? Away from all this elite company, no pressure to keep up appearances. Come on, don't be shy. The courtyard's beautiful this time of year. Well, maybe not in a snowstorm at -6 degrees, but you're tough. Right, blue-collar tough. He emphasized elite like a weapon. His friends grinned, waiting for me to back down, to slink away in shame. I stood slowly, deliberately, took my napkin from my lap, folded it precisely, placed it on the table, made eye contact with Alexander. Didn't break it. The room quieted further, sensing confrontation. I looked past Alexander toward the head table. Emily, watching, face pale. Our eyes met across the distance. She looked down, said nothing, did nothing. That moment crystallized everything. I turned back to Alexander. Interesting suggestion. Alexander, very revealing. My tone perfectly calm. No anger, no defensiveness. The calmness somehow more unsettling than rage would be. Alexander misread it as weakness. Smirked wider. See, he gets it. He knows when he's... A voice cut across the room from the premium section. Wait. Hold on a minute. Patrick Donovan standing at his table, staring at me, walking forward. Expression shifting from confusion to recognition to disbelief. Bradley Covington. He stopped a few feet away, studying me. You're the owner of Covington Auto Service, aren't you? The question dropped into the silence like a stone in still water. Alexander laughed, but it sounded hollow. What, no, he just works. Patrick cut him off. I know him. We have contracts together. Bradley Covington. I thought that was you, but in this section, I assumed... Wait. He looked around at the segregated seating. The side area placement back at me. You own Covington Auto Service, the whole chain. 15 locations across Massachusetts. Alexander turned to me, face flushing darker than the alcohol alone would explain. What are you talking about? He's just a mechanic. He fixes cars. Emily told me. Patrick shook his head slowly. He doesn't fix cars. He owns the company. I've been signing checks to Covington Auto Service for 6 years. Other guests started pulling out phones. The whisper spread. Alexander looked at me. I said nothing. Just waited. The silence stretched like a wire pulled too tight. Alexander's face cycled through expressions. Confusion, denial, dawning horror. Around us. Phones lit up as guests started searching. Patrick spoke louder, addressing the room as much as Alexander. Covington Auto Service. 15 locations. Cambridge. Brookline, Quincy, Waltham, Somerville, Newton. He listed locations from memory. Each name landed like a hammer blow. We have a fleet maintenance contract. 80 vehicles. Annual contract value over $250,000. A businessman at a nearby table looked up from his phone. He's right. I'm looking at the company website. Bradley Covington, founder and CEO. Another guest reading from LinkedIn. Founded 1987. Grew from single bay operation to regional chain. Estimated business value 9 to 11 million. A woman at Patrick's table. There's an industry article here. Local success story. How Bradley Covington built a multi-million-dollar business. One repair at a time. The information spread through the room like wildfire. Phone to phone, whisper to whisper. Alexander's face drained of color, visibly pale. He looked at Emily. You said he was just a mechanic. You said... Emily's mouth opened, closed. No words came out. She knew. Everyone could see. She knew. Victoria Beaumont's voice cut from the head table shrill. Emily, is this true? Harrison stood, walked toward the group, tablet in hand, and looking at the Massachusetts Secretary of State Business Registry. Bradley Covington, registered agent for Covington Auto Service, LLC, primary owner. Alexander stumbled backward. But the truck, the clothes, his friends, who'd laughed earlier, now backing away, distancing themselves. Alexander turned to me. You lied. You pretended to be. I spoke for the first time since standing. My voice carried across the silent room. I didn't lie. I answered every question honestly. You asked what I do. I work in automotive repair. I do every day. Pause, letting that sink in. My daughter asked me not to discuss the business. I respected her wishes. She wanted to see how you'd treat a father-in-law you thought had nothing. I looked at Emily. You showed us exactly who you are. Alexander. Not just me. Everyone here. Emily's face crumbled, caught between two narratives. Alexander tried to recover. This is a misunderstanding. I never meant it was just jokes. Wedding humor. The outside thing, obviously kidding. Who would actually Patrick cut in? You told him to sit in a snowstorm at -6 degrees. That wasn't humor. Other guests murmured agreement. The mood turned completely. The woman from my relegated table stood. He put all the bride's family back here by the kitchen, like we weren't good enough. Another voice. The valet parking. The separate seating. The dress code comments. Witnesses coming forward now, each remembering small cruelties they'd dismissed. Alexander spinning, trying to find an ally. Someone back me up here. This is being blown out of proportion. His friends silent, studying their shoes. His parents frozen, their social calculation visible. Defend their son or preserve their reputation. A guest reading from her phone. Forbes Small Business Feature 2024. Bradley Covington represents the American success story. Built from nothing through determination and integrity. Patrick to the room. 15 locations, over 120 employees, multi-million-dollar operation. And you sat him by the kitchen like hired help. Alexander. Desperate now. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know? Emily never told me. This isn't my fault. I looked at him steadily. She gave you every chance to treat me with basic respect. You didn't need to know my bank account for that. Victoria Beaumont turned on Emily. Accusatory. You let us humiliate ourselves. You watched us insult a millionaire at our own son's wedding. Emily sobbing now. I thought I didn't think it would. I looked at Emily one last time. She was crying, hands over her face, shoulders shaking. Alexander trying to approach her. She pulled away. I spoke not to Alexander, but to the room. I came to my daughter's wedding. I sat where I was told. I stayed quiet while being mocked. Not because I'm weak, because I wanted everyone to see the truth. I turned to leave, walked through the center of the ballroom this time, not the side exit. Guests parted to let me through. Several nodded respectfully as I passed. Patrick touched my arm. I'm sorry. I didn't understand. You understand now. That's what matters. Jonathan appeared at my side near the exit. The papers. Tomorrow. Let tonight settle first. I spoke my final words before crossing the threshold. You wanted to know if I was worthy of your elite company. Alexander, turns out you needed to prove you were worthy of mine. You failed. I walked out the main entrance, down the steps into the snow, reached my truck as snow collected on my shoulders. Behind me, the estate house glowed with light and music. The party continuing in shock. My phone buzzed. Text from Jonathan. She's going to call you soon. Don't answer tonight. Let her think. I started the engine. Through the falling snow, I could see figures in the windows, silhouettes arguing, gesturing. One separated from the others, smaller, moving toward the exit. Emily coming after me. The morning after the wedding. My phone started ringing at 7 a.m. I let it go to voicemail. Alexander called 5 more times before I finally answered on the 6th. I was at my kitchen table, coffee cooling in my favorite mug, watching the phone buzz against the wood surface. Picked it up. Bradley, please, we need to talk. Last night I made a terrible mistake. Alexander's voice came through desperate, trembling between anger and fear. Background quiet. He was alone somewhere, probably locked in a bathroom or office, hiding from Emily. The alcohol, the stress of the wedding. I wasn't thinking clearly. Everyone says things they don't mean when they're drinking. You understand that. Right, I said nothing. Let him fill every pause with increasingly desperate explanations. The business contacts. The reputation damage. Do you know what this does to me professionally? People I've worked with for years saw that they're calling, asking questions, making assumptions. Still, I waited. I'm trying to make this right here to explain, to apologize. Are you finished? I'm trying to apologize here. No. You're trying to manage damage. There's a difference. Silence on his end. Then what happened between you and Emily is between you and Emily. Not my business anymore. But I need you to... People think I cut him off. They think exactly what you showed them. That's not my problem to fix. Before hanging up, I added one more thing. By the way, Emily received her wedding gift yesterday. Documents transferring ownership of all 15 Covington Auto Service locations to her name. Completely legal. My attorney handled everything. Silence on the line. I could hear him breathing, processing. What 15 locations? You gave her 10 million worth of business. Yes, it's hers now. I ended the call before he could respond. Immediately phoned Jonathan. He knows about the transfer. Took him less than 14 hours. That's faster than I expected. How long until he shows his true colors? Jonathan's voice went grim. Based on what you told me about his loan, days, not weeks. Money makes people impatient. I settled in to wait. The test had truly begun. Over the next week, I received brief texts from Emily. Alexander is acting strange. He keeps asking about the business paperwork. Wants to meet with our accountant. That possessive pronoun notable. Then he's being really attentive. Too attentive. Something feels wrong. I didn't respond. Let her observe and process on her own. The transformation exactly as predicted. Alexander had switched from contempt to excessive interest overnight. No genuine affection. Just transparent greed wrapped in false concern. A week after the wedding, Emily arrived unannounced at my house. Her car, Alexander's Mercedes, telling that she was driving his vehicle. Parked in the driveway, she looked exhausted. Makeup smudged from crying. Walked in without knocking, like when she was young. Dad, we need to talk. She sat at the kitchen table where we'd had that phone conversation months ago. Full circle. Alexander has been different ever since you told him about the business. Her voice broke. He wants me to sign papers making the shop's marital property. Says it's about trust and partnership. He's drawn up documents. Had his own lawyer prepare them. Keeps pushing me to sign. She looked up at me. This was a test. Wasn't it? You wanted to see what he'd do? I pulled out the original contract. Slid it across the table. Pointed to specific language highlighted in bold. If your marriage lasts 5 years, the business is permanently yours. But if you divorce before then, everything reverts to me. Alexander can't touch it either way. She stared at the words. You built a trap for him to prove what he really wants. I built a mirror so you could see clearly. Her finger traced the 5-year clause. So if I divorce him now, you get everything back. Yes. And if I stay with him knowing what he is, I get to keep millions but live a lie. I let her sit with that impossible choice. Finally, she looked up. What would you do? I stood, rinsed my coffee cup. I can't answer that. This is your decision. Your life. Your marriage. She folded the contract slowly. I need time to think. 3 weeks. I gave her. 3 weeks to see if she'd learned anything. Those 3 weeks revealed everything I needed to know about Alexander. Emily called me 4 times. Each conversation shorter than the last. Each confirming what I had already understood. The 4th call ended with 6 words. Dad, I need Jonathan's number. I returned to normal routines. managing shops, reviewing contracts, living my life. The calls came in intervals. First week, he's making spreadsheets about the business, profit projections, expansion plans. Keeps saying, we need to modernize. We should leverage the assets. We could sell half and invest. Always we never acknowledging it was solely hers. Second week, the calls grew darker. He got angry when I said I wanted to wait before making any decisions. Asked why I'm being difficult. Said I'm being ungrateful after everything he's done. Third call, her voice different, colder, clearer. I told him no, definitively. No shared ownership, no signing documents, no business decisions without me learning the operation first. She described his reaction. He stopped pretending. Just stopped. Started yelling about wasted opportunities, stupid decisions, how I don't understand what I have. Said marrying me was supposed to be his breakthrough, his entry into real wealth. The words that broke through called me a disappointment, just like my mechanic father. That phrase, the same contempt, now turned on her. I'm done. Dad, I need a divorce attorney. Can I use Jonathan? I texted her his number immediately. Jonathan took her case, moved quickly. We'll file this week. Massachusetts allows no-fault divorce. But given the circumstances, we can expedite. Alexander attempted to fight, filed counterclaims, demanded portions of marital assets. His lawyer argued the business gift should be considered marital property. Jonathan demolished every argument. Gift made pre-marriage. Documentation solid. Conditional clause explicitly prevented spousal claims. Alexander tried everything. Mediation demands. Settlement negotiations. Threatening litigation. Each attempt failed against the ironclad contract Jonathan had drafted. By late September, the divorce finalized. Marriage lasted barely 3 months. The contract's reversion clause activated automatically. All 15 shops returned to my ownership. I heard through Patrick Donovan what happened to Alexander professionally. The wedding story had spread through Boston's business community. People are calling him the guy who insulted a millionaire at his own wedding. Patrick told me over coffee. His firm quietly suggested he seek opportunities elsewhere. His parents are embarrassed, distancing themselves publicly. The $60,000 wedding loan came due. No Emily, no business, no money. Still the debt. Everything Alexander wanted to achieve through the marriage lost. Everything he'd mocked me for having revealed as his own reality. Actually struggling. Actually fake. Actually desperate. Late September afternoon. I was working at my original shop in Cambridge, the one I'd opened 45 years ago. 15 service bays, hydraulic lifts, diagnostic equipment humming with afternoon work. Emily arrived. Looked different. Stronger. Clearer-eyed. We walked through the facility together. I explained operations. She actually listened now, asked real questions. We sat in the small office where I'd started, drank coffee from the same pot I'd used for decades. I slid new documents across the desk. Full ownership transfer. No conditions this time. It's yours for real now. No tests, no clauses. You've earned it. She started to cry. I'm so sorry for everything. For choosing him. For being ashamed. I stopped her. You learned. That's what matters. Most people never figure out the difference between what glitters and what's actually gold. She wiped her eyes. I thought success meant impressing people like Alexander. People with the right clothes, the right connections. I was so stupid. You were young. Now you're learning. There's a difference. Will you teach me about the business, I mean? Really teach me. Not just the paperwork, but the actual work. I stood, grabbed 2 sets of coveralls from the hook, tossed one to her. First lesson starts now. We've got a transmission to rebuild in Bay 4. She caught the coveralls, held them like something precious. We sat in that office for another hour first, discussing expansion plans, market opportunities, operational improvements. Good ones. Smart observations about customer service, about building loyalty, about reputation. At some point, she asked about the Silverado parked outside. Still driving it every day. Runs perfectly. I take care of what's mine. She smiled. The first genuine smile I'd seen from her in months. I didn't build this business to prove anything to anyone. I built it because I'm good at what I do, and I treat people right. That's the only success that matters. We walked out onto the shop floor together, father and daughter, both knowing what matters, the gold, not the gilding. As Bradley and Emily walked out onto the shop floor together, father and daughter, they both knew what truly mattered, the gold, not the gilding. It was a fresh start, built on lessons hard-earned and bonds renewed. Their shared laughter echoed through the bays, a sound of hope and understanding. The business would thrive under her care, with his guidance by her side. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share your impressions in the comments below. What touched you most about Bradley's journey? Drop your thoughts, and let's exchange ideas. Feel free to ask questions for more discussion. Interact with the channel to stay connected and join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching. We appreciate your time and support.